What's up, Alan?
Hey, good morning, guys. I guess playoffs are up is what we're talking about.
Oh,
yeah.
Definitely.
You were kind of excited after that empty netter.
I couldn't believe how excited you were.
I'm like that every game, guys. I'm usually cussing and yelling and swearing and everything that bothers me, it comes out, and then on the air I kind of chill out.
No, but it was a cool scene when they had the cameras on you and Alexa Landestoy and Brent Johnson. You could just tell, like, you guys were excited. You were relieved that the Caps finally made it after. It's been a wild season. Nobody really expected the Caps to be where they are.
And the last month has been just absolutely crazy. There were 6 teams in a playoff race for basically at one time there were 2 wild cards, and then it became 1 and 3rd place. And then there was 4 teams after the Islanders just got ahead. But it was every single night, and every one of these teams, Islanders included, would have a set of games, 5-6 games of positivity, win streaks, points, and then they'd go the other way. Every single team. And it was funny watching the reporters and the fan base is just ripping on their teams and the coaching staff and the players. And it was the same everywhere. It wasn't just in Washington, but we were going the other night on Monday, we were watching on the set where we're waiting to go on air. We were watching the madness in Detroit, how they came back late in their game and then won it. And then they did it again with 3-point. We had my iPad out. We were watching that game and the Caps game at the same time, wondering when that goalie was going to be pulled. And it was awesome. It was a great way to end. I think it's the greatest playoff race or a race to get in the playoffs in the history of the National Hockey League, because since you've gone to this format since the salary cap, it's been absolutely amazing. I love the divisional format. I love the wild card race, even though sometimes some teams get punked, but it keeps it competitive right until the end. And I think that was really, really good for hockey.
Alan and I text back and forth a lot, during the season about these games. And I got to tell you, I got to give you props, because I was texting you during that 6-game losing streak. I think it was probably after the Pens loss, maybe the Carolina loss. And I basically was telling you, they're done, Ski. It's just over. And you said, don't give up yet. Anything can happen. They could go on a run. They could turn it around.
You still gave up.
I still gave up. Sure enough, they win 4 of 5. And I was asking you on text how you feeling about this game, and you said it's the National Hockey League. Anybody can beat anybody. And you did tell me it's probably the most amazing finish to a regular season, because, like you mentioned, there were so many teams for one spot, and Washington comes out on top for that 8th playoff spot. I mean, just kind of break down those last few games, if you would.
Well, the big thing is with this team, because there's an influx of so many new players, and there's the old players who are, starting to wear down a little bit. They put a lot of hard miles on those bodies on the ice, and we never know how bad they are. And I just look at getting TJ Oshie back. Like he did everything he could do to get back, and I felt the other night, he's not the same TJ Oshie. He can't dangle quite as good as he used to, but there's so much heart in that guy and the emotion, and I think that everyone was feeding off of that in that dressing room. When I looked at him score that empty netter, I thought he was going to tear up. I thought he was choked up out there. And when you have guys playing with that much passion and love, and then Obi rekindling his game and getting it back, and these young guys all fired up, and pretty much every guy in that team has won a championship. And it may have been a junior, it may have been an American Hockey League, and some of them are lucky enough in the National Hockey League. And they just fire. It's the greatest adrenaline rush there is. So I just look at the game plan. They finally figured out, that's the hardest team. Their identity this year, I don't think they found it until late. And it had to be the hardest working defensive team in the National Hockey League. Simplify with the puck. I think more pucks than that would make me a happier guy. I don't like those 6-shot first periods. But I just thought they scratched and clawed. They knew that they had to back check, and they had to find a way to score those first goals. And against Tampa, that was a Game 7. Against Boston, that was a Game 7. Against Philly, that was a Game 7. And they were thriving on the intensity and the competitiveness of those games. And John Carlson playing 30 minutes of game just to calm everyone down, and Charlie Lindgren, the confidence. And I told friends last week, I said, as long as you've got John Carlson and Charlie Lindgren on your team, I said, those are the 2 guys I could count on all season long. And it was spectacular to see how the guys scratched and clawed to get in. I loved it. I thought it was great. It wasn't pretty, but I love how they stuck together and they fought together to get in the playoffs.